waiting the entire time.
We're so sorry for keeping you on the line that long.
Yeah, hopefully.
Don't worry.
It's been a packed show.
Sugar cake.
So what did you? So it says here that you wanted to talk about your SSA chapter at university.
Yeah. So some friends and I, we recently got in touch with the SSA, and I'm sorry, I'm nervous. My voice might shake. So we started an SSA chapter at the University of Houston, and I wanted to ask you guys, if, as leaders in the community, do you have any advice for like people who want to build a community or like just a dialogue in a very religious area?
Do you want to take that, or should I? Because I donate all of my time that I can here.
I've got a couple of points to make, but you said that you go to the University of Houston?
Yes.
So it is a public university?
Yes.
Because I know that there are SSA chapters at private universities that are kind of underground. So your chapter is an officially recognized chapter at the university?
It will be. We're still doing the paperwork, but there hasn't been any roadblocks.
Okay, that's good.
And how many people right now do you have?
So our first meeting had about 15 members.
That's not bad for a first meeting.
It's a very new.
15, I think.
What number did you say?
15.
So 14 plus 1. Okay, for a second I thought you said 15. I think that's pretty good. And I was like, yep. Sorry.
Well, 15, I know
is good for a first meeting.
A lot of these chapters tend to be small, but usually if you're in the Bible Belt, like in Texas, there's a lot more hunger for it.
Yeah.
I noticed when I went to Texas A&M that there were fewer Christians overall at the or fewer atheists overall at the university because it's a very religious area. But the atheist community that was there was very passionate. And so you're going to have members of your student body who are surrounded by religiosity and churches, and their family is ultra religious, and they're going to be, very vocal. Be careful with outing members. You're going to have a lot of people who are closeted, who don't want their picture up online. Keep your Facebook group private as much as you can. Don't, share stuff outside that group. But try to give publicity to the group itself. So whether it's putting flyers around, letting people know that they're not alone, have stuff that says, don't believe in God, like you're not the only one and stuff. Like put that stuff all over. Expect people to tear it down. People do that. Religious people will come and tear down your flyers. Just print more. Usually you have printing resources at your university where you have an allotment for however many pages you can print off. Just at the end of the year, like use up the rest of your allotment, printing out flyers, and then just go plaster those all over on different billboards where you can hang that stuff up at universities. Get some attention out, and watch your numbers grow. Have your info up online, but try to be cognizant of people's privacy and not wanting to be outed.
Do you guys have any advice for how we can kind of impact the community? Because one of the main things we wanted to tackle as an organization was to really try to destigmatize what it's like to be a non-believer. And so we wanted to, as a new organization, how could we start that?
So I feel like you've taken step one, which is existing and being out. I feel like to make a community strong, particularly on a college campus, the more that you can build the friendships and camaraderie between members, and the more you can encourage current members to make a deliberate point of being open and therefore and friendly to potential new members, that is sort of the fundamental lifeblood of whether or not your group is going to exist. Providing external reasons for the group to exist. Because one, hey, we're in a really religious area. There's a bunch of, presumably there's a church on campus or church groups or Chi Alpha or something like that. Providing the alternative, right? And providing the alternative for people from a religious background. That's one, in my mind, reason enough. But two, just sort of looking up ways and finding ways to impact the community or bring a speaker, depending on, whether you're, it's weird to say whether or not you're trying to recruit nerds or not, but basically figure out what it is that the secular community on campus can engage with that is enjoyable and good at the same time. Because you can get people who are part of a community to do community service, right? But if that's not a passion of those people, it's good. We can all agree it's good. But if that's not something that makes people get up on a Saturday morning, then it's perhaps not what should be your first priority in terms of events. So I feel
So it
like
might differ. Sorry.
yeah. So one of the things that's particularly valuable, I don't know how large the University of Houston is, but one of the things that's particularly valuable is you're in a place where people, 18-year-olds, will be going to a new place, usually without any of their friends that they have back home coming with them. They're away from their parents for the first time, and that can be overwhelming and terrifying and comforting, like providing a community and understanding voices and even just guidance to freshmen is good on its own, right? So I would feel like in large part there's a lot of top-down leadership that can happen, but you will be surprised, particularly when the group gets, like it's 17th member, whatever, how much people, if they're invested in the group, will want the group to do more things. And the things that people are interested in doing, they'll almost start on their own. It's one of the things that I've learned being president of the ACA is I don't have to do everything. It helps because I'm president, but people take initiative, come up with ideas, and in large part, they ask me if they're okay or what the best way to do them. And mostly, as if you are leading a community that's invested, the most important thing for you to do is be out in front, but stay out of the way because they're going to run forward on their own.
So just be a cheerleader and kind of give them direction? Or
I would say be a cheerleader, be the friendliest cheerleader, and boring administrative tasks that are necessary, minimize how much, other people or new members need to do that. Because if to join a group that you really want to join, you have to fill out 15 pages of paperwork. I know it's a ridiculous example. Fewer barriers to entry.
20 pages.
I would say that there's a couple aspects whenever you want to have a thriving local community. And I used to be on the board of the Atheist Community of Tulsa. And I've been pretty active, well, off and on here at the ACA, depending on as my schedule allows. But I've seen groups that do it right, and typically they won't just have one aspect that they center around. So like rather than just being a social group, they also do other things outside of that. So you want to have some form of community service. If you're trying to destigmatize atheism and you want people to really get involved and feel like they're doing something positive for the community, get out and, adopt a highway, pick up trash on the highway, go and feed the homeless, find like some different old people in town who need their lawns mowed and leaves picked up and stuff like that. You do things like that and people start seeing, oh man, this group is tiny, but they are really killing it and just showing that they're positive and that they're awesome. And pretty soon you'll start getting local media coverage if it's, abnormal, or at least you'll have people, local groups that want to know more about what you're doing, and you won't be seen as a bunch of angry atheists. Another side aside from community service is you do want to have social events. So whether that's some form of get together and play board games, or just you're close friends with people, you have them over, you play like video game tournaments and stuff. Things like that are fantastic. Have, group events where you just have like a movie night. You also want to have some form of education, so you can bring speakers in. You can organize debates as long as they're polite and respectful. Bring people who are respected in the community and have them maybe debate against Christians.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good.
So I would say just to finish that thought. So I mean, those are three things right there. Is that you want the social aspect of it, for the community. You want to have community service where you're giving back to people. You want to have some form of education, and then lastly, I would say activism. And I'm literally pulling this straight out of American Atheist Handbook. They have a program called the ACEs program. Jim Helton of American Atheist has been killing this with his groups, where they'll go and they'll do activist stuff. We did this with the Atheist Community of Tulsa, where we would go and engage in the pride rallies and stuff, and we'd set up a booth and we'd say, we support you, we're allies, we love you guys, you shouldn't have to be stigmatized and stuff. And you can go to events like that. You can get involved in, local. We would go to schools where people were having these horrific signs up that were, trying to shame women for getting abortions, and we showed up and said, that's horrible, and we don't stand for that, and we just love you guys, and we were just, having kind of a counter protest, but a kind one. We were just giving out candy with messages of love on it. It's little things like that go a long way in the community, and you'll find that Christians will start approaching you and saying, like, we love your approach so much better. Whether it's food drives or clothing drives or anything. These are just a few ideas of ways that you can really build a community and get people involved and feel like they're a part of something.
Yeah, and like we have, I don't know if they're Westbrook Baptist or not, but every now and then, at least once a semester, we'll have anti-gay protests, and so that was one thing as an organization we really wanted to counter protest, and we were thinking of very subtle ways of just peacefully.
That's a good way of doing that. Yeah, particularly if there's a group you can partner with on campus. So my producer is talking to my ear that I need to get through this call. I absolutely don't want this to be the last time that we speak, or the last time that I or even Thomas is able to provide you some help, particularly because you're so close and I could just visit. I keep in touch, the email the show, Facebook, Reddit.
You're only in Houston. Drive out to the ACA.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Drive out here.
Oh, yeah. I really wanted to one day. And I also wanted, like, as we became more of an established organization, I wanted to invite you, Jamie, or Eric to, like, come give a speech or something like that eventually.
Oh, yeah. I'd be happy to. And you asked me first, so I get to go before
If only
Eric.
there was someone else who lived in Austin.
I get to go first. He said my name first.
He said Eric.
I said, Eric. Well, I'm here,
I'm Thomas.
and he listed my name. All right.
We gotta go.
In any case, Jared, we got to go. Stay in touch. All right.
Thank you.
Take care.
Right.
Bye.
Have a good godless day. Well, that about wraps it up. We're going to have some love rings because we need them after EF. I hope that everyone here enjoyed themselves, at least enjoyed themselves more than Thomas did, because he got a little red with anger in our most
I was
heated
having
call.
fun.
I know our ending, and then at the end, Eric, who's sitting here, is always like, for those of you that don't believe, you can find community here, and I'm sitting over there, and I always butcher the ending by